All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday afternoon with my man Hoop. No Tambo in the building, so two-man booth talking a little Steelers, Cleveland Browns action. Not the best football, Hoop, but hey, money to be made. 36.5 total. Steelers looking as 3.5-point favorites. Going to be sharing the stone today. So if you're not a member, you get it today for free. That's not always the case. You know Tambo. He's around. We still do need the like button, though. Can't have him coming back and yelling at us. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe, helps us out a ton. Bringing you in, Hoop. First thoughts on this game. How's your Thursday going?
Thursday's going well so far. Quick little personal story. You'll appreciate this one because I know you're always in the gyms. I think I kind of maybe saved someone's life today. I don't know if it would have got that extreme, but it was relatively close. It's a gym story, so we'll tell it quick. And then Tambo doesn't like our stories, so I'm gonna it's better when it's you and I. It's better when it's you and I to tell these stories. So I kind of follow routine now. I do some cardio, do some lifting, and I've been hitting the sauna as I've told you. So hit the sauna. And then the hot tub's right next door. So I'm chilling, in the hot tub for a minute. And I see this guy kind of stumble, really, really good shape. Probably, I'd say probably 50, but like in really good shape. I mean, big dude, muscles and all that. I see him kind of stumbling out of the sauna, kind of walking my way. And wobbly legs. I'm like, dude, this guy's about to go down. I said, he's going to go down. And there wasn't a ton of people in the area. And there's like a lap pool kind of in between the sauna and the hot tub. Well, he's like right up next to right by the lap pool and goes down to one knee and like falls over like right next to the pool. I'm like, shit, this dude is going to pass out and fall in the pool. So like I hop out of the hot tub and no one else saw this happen. And I go up to it. I was like, are you all right? And he's just like out of it. His eyes started rolling back. I'm like, man, I said, are you okay? Kind of shaking him a little bit. And he's like, oh yeah, in the sauna for too long. And like his eyes were rolling back. I was like, dude, get back up. So I kind of like lifted him up a little bit. There's a bench over there. I was like, you got water or anything? He's a water bottle. So I went and got him his water. There's a lifeguard. I was like, this dude's passed out over here. But he bounced back. He's like, yeah, I talked to him after. It took him a while. I mean, he was sitting there and he was out of it. Said he was in the sauna for 20 minutes. He goes, man, this sauna is way hotter than the one in my other gym. I was like, dude, I said 20 minutes, probably too long. And so that's kind of how my day started. So it was pretty wild start to the day, I'd say.
How good stuff. First of all, yeah, Hoop the hero for sure, as everyone's saying. How hot do you think that sauna you guys got going?
It goes between, and you'll know if this is hot or not. It goes between like 190 and 200. It's
that's
in that
hot.
range.
That's a hot sauna. Yeah, that's good sauna.
Yeah, so yeah, 20 minutes. It's usually like 195 or so, and I do like 10 to 12 minutes. That's good enough for me. I'm literally fully dripping sweat. This dude was in there for 20. And he's in really good shape, too. Like I said, muscles, shorter dude, but like very muscular. You can tell he works out a ton. And yeah, he hit the deck. The 20 minutes in the 190, 195 range was too much for him to handle.
I'll give him plenty props. The mental fortitude to do that when you know your body wants to quit to get to that 20 mark. Yeah, he would definitely push every second. That's crazy.
Yeah, so like it's happened to me a couple times walking out of there where I kind of get like blurry vision. I was like, all right, you got to get some water. You pushed it a little bit too much, but I stick to like the 10 minutes. It gets the job done good enough. But yeah, he's like, he said he was in there for 20 and almost cost him.
Yeah, good stuff, Hoop. Want to shout out this man right here, Sean Sullivan, 50K yesterday. Awesome stuff. He's always in the Discord. Been there since the beginning, grinding all the sports. Shout out to you, Sean Sullivan. 1% Nurkic gets the job done. $50,000. Awesome stuff there. Awesome or amazing is right. Go collect also in here. Illini fan, Jacob Stubbs, Michael Ortiz, Beetle Bane, Philly Phantom, B Wand, Nate D, Wardo, Lay the House, Nate Defy. Who else we got in here? Austin. Appreciate everyone. Go ahead. Who?
Yeah, Nate's is a big gym guy too, so I know he definitely appreciates that story. Nate's a big fella. I'd still toss his ass around, but he's a big boy.
Yeah, he is. He's got some pipes on him, that's for sure. Let's talk some football. 3.5.
That's nasty. Yeah, I guess I didn't really get into the game at all, but it's 36.5, very, very low total. We have weather as well. It's looking like rain and snow throughout the entire game. I mean, it's going to be pretty damn cold. Winds, not crazy. Roth has it 10 to 15, 20-mile-an-hour gust. That's not massive, but it is probably enough to make a little bit of an impact. This could be gross, and the total shows it. I mean, 36.5. I guess the one thing that is positive for this game in terms of the fantasy outlook is there's a lot of options on both sides. Like we have running backs in play, both quarterbacks can put up points. The wide receivers obviously can put up points. Both teams have tight end. We have Boswell, who I always talk about on these showdown shows. Seems like he ends up in the winner, like regardless, whenever the Steelers are on the slate and they're willing to just kick field goals. They're not a team that really pushes it on fourth down at all. So there is a lot of plays here. That's the one thing that is promising. Obviously, the low total, not super appealing. The Steelers have a pretty good defense, or I'd say a very good defense. And the weather, that's why we see in this low total. But there's a solid number of plays on both sides.
Yeah, another thing, my first thoughts on this slate. So Roth does have it orange for all the reasons Hoop mentioned with the snow, some wind. My first thoughts looking at the stone is Najee Harris, obviously mega chalk, or will be the most popular on the slate. 3.5-point favorites in a gross game. Look at the stone right here. Browns C- rush defense, good against the pass. Vice versa for the Steelers. They are more pass funnel. But you look in a really gross game. I mean, Nick Chubb's 2% right here, a captain. That could be an interesting spot. Another thing that I like about this game is it's pretty clear. Like some of these spots, it's like we're like the Cowboys we just talked about. Who's the wide receiver 4? Who's the wide receiver 3? Who's the wide receiver 5? Like Turpin gets one play, he houses it, but they have a million guys. It's pretty clear. The Brown side have 3. Judy, Tillman, Elijah Moore. You don't have to worry about any of those other guys, in my opinion. And running back, it's Nick Chubb when they're playing from ahead. It's Jerome Ford kind of when they're playing from behind and pass catching. I don't think you have to worry about anyone else there. Steelers side, it's just Najee and Jalen Warren. I guess if you want to say Cordero Patterson, 12 snaps last week, 8 before, but pretty much it's a 2 running back there. And receivers on Steelers side, it's clearly Pickens, Calvin Austin, and then Mike Williams, Jefferson. So I think it's more of a limited player pool, which also is nice as well. Any initial thoughts? And then if not, just lead us right into captain. Again, Najee is leading the way, and then we have Pickens coming in number 2.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, for a few main reasons. Like, yes, it's weird because these aren't great offenses by any means, but it's like consolidated. You know who the guys are. And like, I don't think you necessarily need to take the risk. I mean, I don't like any of these cheap guys, which we'll get to as we go through, but you probably don't even need to take the risk because there's nothing that we're reaching for to really spend on. Everything's pretty affordable. No one's projected. I mean, we have our highest projected guy is it Pickens at 15.6. Like that's a very low number. I mean, we see a lot of guys, these slates where it's 20, 22 or something like that. The highest projected guy is 15.6. So we're not really reaching to spend on anything. So as we go through, we'll talk about it, but I want to eliminate as many fringe plays as possible today and then just really lock in. It is tough at captain to kind of find guys that you want to play. So maybe it's a slate where we can kind of spread it out at captain a little bit, but then just really consolidate what we do in the flex. So that's something that's kind of popping in my head. In terms of other, like Najee Harris, yes, because of this weather situation for sure is going to be very popular. Someone posted it in the chat last time when they played in bad weather, 26 carries. Like they'll do that for sure. They're favored by 3.5 on the road. Like his workload's probably like unlimited today if they're playing with a lead or it's like an ugly game, and sets up well for him. Like you said, the rush defense is very bad. So this is like game script perfect, I guess, if you're going to be heavy on Najee. Like if you want to play a lot of Najee captain, Browns are obviously better when they're passing the ball now with Jameis. You get all these pass catchers. You have 4 very solid pass catchers, Judy, Tillman, Elijah Moore, Njoku. So if you are going the Najee Harris captain route, you have a lot of different ways to go, like a lot of different ways in the flex. Other guys that I'm considering. I mean, I'm still going to consider, Pickens up there. I don't really love Russell Wilson up top. I do think Jameis Winston's somewhat interesting. We know what he can do. I mean, a guy that's willing to go back and just, or not even him, but the team's willing to just let him throw a ton, even in bad weather. I think that remains the case. So Harris, interest in Winston, obviously, if they're playing from behind, and much easier to pass on Pittsburgh than to run. And then I do like these pass catchers for the Browns too. Jerry Jeudy, we just saw him come off a big game. Tillman's had some big games. Elijah Moore, David Njoku. So the way I'm kind of leaning is, man, I'm going to probably play into the Najee Harris stuff, which kills me because you guys know I fucking hate playing Najee Harris, but it's almost by necessity, almost have to. Like if this was not a weather situation, if this was, a higher total, I would totally be off Najee, but it's very difficult knowing the potential workload for him here tonight. So he's definitely my favorite Steelers guy. I will have some Pickens, good connection with Russell Wilson. But then on the Brown side, I do want to play these pass catchers, Jeudy, Tillman, maybe some Elijah Moore, and then David Njoku. So in regards to captains, probably a little more spread out than I typically go, but it's pretty clear, I think, what I want to do at that position.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with a lot of that. Like, I definitely have to play Najee. A big thing, he's 9.2K, and we have him pretty much tied with Pickens. Pickens is 11K. Russell Wilson's 10K. So you're definitely getting a discount with Najee, and we will talk about later. The value is not great on this slate by any means, which does lead me into some of these Njokus of the world at 7.6. Tillman, I think, strong at 7K. Elijah Moore at 6.4K. I have interest at captain. And you look at that stuff, they're all relatively held in check at captain. 3% Elijah Moore. Yeah, I'm definitely in. 7% Tillman. 5% Jeudy. Jameis just absolutely slings that thing. Even with this weather, if they are trailing 3.5-point dogs, I'm going to play some of that. I'm going to play more Browns captains for sure, because I'm going to play some Chubb. If they are leading, like, just flip the build. He's a fraction of the ownership. 2% for Nick Chubb. We have at this late a captain, even if he gets up to 3 or whatever. He's handling all the, like, when they're leading, he's getting the work. Third down, goal line stuff, he's getting the work. His touchdown prop on this slate, second best at plus 145. It's actually interesting. Nobody on this slate is favored to score. Najee's only plus 105. Pickens is tougher for me to get. Like, he has the upside to break any slate, and Russell just throw it deep to him. But he's 11K. That is way up there, especially on a slate I don't love value. And I don't love Russell Wilson either. He can get it done with his legs a little bit, I guess. But it feels like Calvin Austin would have to catch one. Pickens would have to get one. He'd have to rush one. I don't know. I feel better. I feel safe not playing Russell Wilson up top. Underweight Pickens. Najee for me. And then I think I'm just going to play the Njoku, Jeudy, Tillman, Chubb, and just hope one of these Browns are captain for the most part. I just love watching Jameis run this offense, and I think the Steelers really want to slow the game down and run it with Najee Harris 25 times. So I'll play Najee chalk at captain that way. Any thoughts on those like mid-tier guys? Any cheap captains for you? Defense? Any final thoughts at captain?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that definitely stands out, like we talked about it, the Najee Harris thing, and it pains me, but I just have to be there on the slate. I mean, you could totally see him getting like 28 touches, like 24 carries and a couple receptions, find the end zone once or twice. So I got to play that. Yeah, maybe it's not Pickens. I don't know. Like, he is getting ownership and he is very expensive. So, maybe it's not as much him. He's coming in as the second highest owned captain. So if I do play Pickens, which I'll have all my stuff up within an hour or two after the show, it's not going to be like way over the field. It might be just like right around the field, Pickens captain, or maybe a little below. Maybe just play like 15% Pickens captain potentially. I don't know. We'll see when I get in there, but it's definitely Najee. The interesting thing to me is like Russell Wilson is showing higher ownership in the captain than like Jameis Winston. Like, I definitely want.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Right?
I think
I
that
don't know. Other sources are kind of showing the same thing, which is wild to me. I do think it ends up closer, if not Jameis. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, I just, without diving deep into it before, like, I thought for sure Jameis would have higher ownership than Russell Wilson, but hopefully that holds true. I really hope that holds true.
Interesting.
Yeah. If that holds true, I like the Winston stuff like even more, like definitely even more. So in on him. The one spot I will disagree is I'm just not playing Nick Chubb up top. I'm just not doing it at 9K. I get it, like no ownership at all. And if he does have multiple touchdown upside, but tough matchup, tough spot. Like I'm out on that one. I'm going to go with all the pass catchers though. And the quarterback.
Yeah.
Winston, Judy, Tillman, Elijah Moore, and Joke. I'm just going to play into that game script that it is Najee on the other side, Steelers in an ugly win, and then the second half, the Browns are just chucking it, which they'll do, which is nice. That's perfect. That's kind of what you want. So I'm going to mostly play into that game script and go from there in hopes that that's the one that kind of wins out. But, man, it's an ugly one for sure.
So that's the captain talk. I like it. We're in agreement with a lot of stuff. The last thing I want to mention with Pickens, yeah, I mean, we have him as the second highest owned captain at 17%. His receiving prop, 58.5 yards, like Judy and Njoku, 45.5, Tillman, 43.5. And you get a lot of savings there. You can build your favorite Pickens captain team, switch it to one of those guys. Obviously, you want it to make us like you're more likely to play Jameis if you're playing one of them. More likely to play Russ with Pickens, etc.
It is,
that shows you can leave the salary.
Yeah, just to add on to that point. So it's like very interesting when you think about it like this. You look at Pickens ownership. Let's say it is around 17%. If you just eliminate that and play the Browns pass catchers, Judy, Tillman, Moore, and Njoku, it's basically like the same percentage, and you're getting four guys. And in my eyes, I think one of those four likely outscore Pickens tonight. So maybe it is a Pickens fade. I don't know. We'll see. But it's like, man, you get all those pass catchers, same ownership combined as just.
And I will say, maybe we're a little light on this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes up a little bit. Pickens, maybe still, I think 15, 17. Like, there isn't many options people want to click up top, which is also why I wouldn't be surprised if Najee's 20% got steamed to like 24. You know, Mixon on, I believe that was Monday, 29% he came in at and projected like 24, 25. So I could see this being a slate. Like, who do you click at captain? The people that are single entry or like hand building and all that. It feels really safe to land on Najee, but Pickens is the second name, 3.5-point favorite. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to be taking shots on a lot more of those Browns guys for sure. Quarterbacks, flex wise, you're always playing them, but any thoughts on like no quarterback lineups today, or do you want a quarterback in almost every lineup, double quarterback builds? Any flex thoughts with them?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, people always like that question. Can you play like no quarterbacks? Yeah, you can probably get away with it today, but it's like if you're playing a Najee heavy approach, Najee captain heavy, like you like not playing Winston seems like a mistake. I mean, it could definitely get there. Don't get me wrong, but like I'd feel more comfortable being way underweight on Russell Wilson, which I probably will be, than Jameis Winston tonight. So that's kind of my approach, but more times than not, like the floors are so high for these guys. Like the conversation can always get a little back and forth when you're talking quarterback captain, but in the flex, like they just we saw it the other night with like Cooper Rush. I mean, he's a terrible he's terrible fantasy player, but like he had a ton of opportunity. He ended up getting there because they just had to throw the ball a ton. So quarterbacks have an advantage, especially like in the flex. So definitely not actively trying to not play the quarterbacks, I guess. I'll get as much as I can, probably force more Jameson, and I'd be fine with underweight Russell Wilson in the flex if it came down to that.
Yep, that makes sense. If I'm not playing a quarterback, I'm probably almost always playing at least one defense. Because if no quarterback gets there, it probably has to be low scoring, the 7 for 70 or something from like the Tillmans of the world. 14 did outscore him, like CJ Stroud scored 11 the last game, and they put up a lot of points. So it'd have to be defenses or defense at least, and then load up skill position players, get all the touchdowns in.
Yep.
Full point PPR stuff. Let's get into running back. Again, appreciate everyone watching. 130 watching live. I know many watch on playback. All we ask from you guys, like button, subscribe button goes a long way. If you do want to join us at the Nation, this is the Stone. We have the Stone for every sport. NFL going on, college going on. PGA, I think, just ended this week. If I'm not mistaken, we'll be back though in a couple months. NBA going on, NHL going on. Shout out Nades. MMA going on 3 a.m. Eastern this week. No better spot to be. Also have Shiptimizer, our own optimizer.
Wait, did you say 3 a.m.?
You heard me. 3 a.m.
What?
Yep.
Are you being serious?
Yep, Asia.
Damn, your boys, I gotta get to work early. It starts at 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Good thing you said that because I was just looking at that and I thought it was 3 p.m., 3 a.m. Thanks for that.
I'll always tag everyone, and you would have found out. But yeah, 3 a.m. It's going to be a late one or an early one. It's somewhere in Asia. Let's see exactly.
No, it says they're in China. Okay.
Oh, China. There you go. There's a lot of Chinese and Asian fighters.
Yeah, good thing you said something. I got to start the process a little earlier this week.
Yes, you do. A lot of the stuff already. You have the behind the scenes look. A good amount already done. All these sports going on. No better price. All you got to go SHIPITNation.com. Click join the nation. We have weekly, monthly, annual packages. NFL only. That includes college football. Definitely check it out. Again, no better spot to be. You can get all of these sports for the price of one sport at some other places. So much success. I want to shout out Sean Sullivan again. Always grinding. Want to shout out Rio, always grinding for the people as well. Let's move into the running back position, who, again, mentioned at the top, I think fairly easy. 5 guys max, if you want to say, but clearly 4 running backs to play today. Najee, which we talked extensively about. Nick Chubb is a clear pivot, only 20% owned in the flex, 2% MV or captain. Obviously, he's way better when you think they will be leading. If you think they are trailing, though, Jerome Ford's 4,400, 14% I think is very fair. On the flip side, Warren will get work either way, whether they are leading or behind, but also is a little better pass catcher. He's a pivot off of one of the chalkier plays on the slate in Najee Harris. Definitely going to be playing some Warren, Ford, Chubb, and Najee. The last one I will say is Cordero Patterson. Again, value isn't great. This is more of a 150 stuff. You're showing 2%. He had 12 snaps last week, 8 the week before. Most people watching this probably played 10 teams or less. I would not click Cordero Patterson. If you're playing a bunch of teams, you will see pros play some Cordero Patterson. He's a good football player, but not enough opportunity for most people. So break it down the running back position.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about just eliminating some of the fringe plays, and Cordero Patterson to me is like a fringe play. I just I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if you really need the savings. We'll see. But for me, it's probably going to be out on that. Najee Harris, we already talked about. I mean, he probably ends up, I don't even know if it's projected this way, but he'll be the most popular guy on the slate. People are going to start talking about this weather situation. We know what the Steelers want to do. It's a good matchup, obviously.
The price, too. How is he that much less than Pickens? That's a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to get up there, but to me, it's like probably get as much as you possibly can. He's a guy that, 9,200 could easily be the highest scoring guy on the slate. And just play him at a high rate, but he's going to be very highly owned. Second favorite running back is going to be Jerome Ford, 4,400. Just if you're buying into this game script that it's ugly and it's Najee Harris, Jerome Ford is a great guy to get overweight on, especially on those Najee Harris captain teams. Jerome Ford, I think, is a phenomenal play, 4,400. Like him, Jaylen Warren, moderate interest. I don't know. Again, I keep talking about it, but I think Najee is going to be a big part of what I do today. Probably a big part of what everyone else does it. But if it's a huge Najee game, it's probably not a big Warren game. So I'll probably be under on him. And then Nick Chubb at 9K, I might just fade Nick Chubb and just say I'm not, 20%. I don't think it's going to be him sacrificing some shit at 9K. He's got to put something up at 9K. So I get it. He's coming in low owned, but still looks like 20 some percent. What are we showing? 20. Yeah. Right around 20% are playing him. I might just fade him and hope that it's not him. So a lot of Harris. If you're liking Harris, Jerome Ford should be the number 2, some Warren maybe, and then potentially fading Chubb. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. It makes sense, and 20% is a lot to eliminate. Again, I'm going to be playing Chubb, and it's in lineups where I can drop Pickens down to Chubb, Russ down to Chubb, leaving at least 1K, gets you different that way. I just like the running backs in this game. I think there's 4 very viable options that'll be on the field a decent amount. You get Najee, obviously, is the best play on the slate. Jaylen Warren leverages off the most owned play on the slate. And if he doesn't get there, Warren has a better chance to score a touchdown. If Najee's not, Warren more has a better chance too. I think he's plus 230 to score. So definitely going to be playing Warren. I think you can play Najee and Warren teams. Again, they're both going to be out there. Mike Tomlin, I think, is going to want to run the football. It's a gross game. if they're playing from the lead, like someone said they like the over 17 Najee rushing attempts. I like that. That feels light too. You could see Najee get 20, Warren get 10 or something like that. Like they're going to run the football. If it's a low scoring slate and they both fall in the box once, they could get there. So any thoughts on Najee and Warren teams? You're not playing Chubb, so you wouldn't like the Chubb Ford stuff as much, but yeah, I guess the Pitt side.
Yeah, I mean the Najee or the Steelers like blowout game script where they get up by 2-3 touchdowns. Like both these guys could find the box, and on this slate, a running back finding the end zone is probably good enough, especially at Warren's price tag. So if Najee gets a majority of the work, gets 1 or 2 touchdowns, Warren gets a touchdown as well, they'll give him goal line carries. It's not like when they get down there, they immediately bring in Najee Harris. They prefer him there, but Warren will get some goal line carries too. So I am not opposed to it. I would not be making a rule to exclude those sort of builds. I mean, if they win 28-7, more likely than not, it's probably both those guys on the winner.
Yeah, good breakdown. What's going on, Derek? Always love to see this message. Yeah, it hits home. I know, like I mentioned, my science and gym teacher, they love DFS.
Yeah, I told you my daughter's substitute teacher is big into it too. So it's love it. Love when the teachers are supporting us.
Absolutely. Why are we getting a couple mentions on Justin Fields?
I knew when I looked at all the pricing and everything, I knew this was going to come up. I absolutely knew it was going to come up as a talking point, and for me, it's an easy no. An easy no. But when his ass comes on the field, like I'm like, oh, here it is. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it as well. Yeah, I don't really have anything more to add at running back. Again, I think I like all 4 of them. Hoop doesn't like Chubb. He likes the other ones. I like all 4 at their ownership. And then Cordell Patterson would be large field stuff. Like you playing 70 teams and I had 2 lineups with Patterson. Yeah, maybe something like that. But value's tough. Let's get in the receiver room. And that's why I did like all 4 of those running backs. And I'm probably going to play at least one running back on almost every team today. And probably a good amount have too, because I don't love these Steeler running backs Steeler receivers by any means. I think Pickens is overpriced. Kelvin Austin's my favorite. Like, who knows what to do with Mike Williams? I'm going to play some. I'm going to maybe play a little Van Jefferson. Am I excited about any of those guys, though? Absolutely not. And that is what leads me to a lot of Njoku, Elijah Moore, Tillman, Judy, captain teams that are more mid-tierish where I don't have to go all the way down. But I love those Browns receivers, just Judy, Tillman, Moore, not playing anybody else. All of them fairly in check in terms of ownership. Steelers side, Austin is my favorite. Obviously Pickens, but he's really high owned. I'll probably be underweight. Yeah, talk about start with Steelers receiver room for me and help me with these Mike Williams of the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenging part of this slate, and I think I'm going to be with you. It's probably going to be an underweight approach, and I'm imagining if you don't change shit, Calvin Austin is just going to show up into a bunch of your lineups. Actually, let's go ahead. I have the dry run up, and I haven't let me rerun it here because it didn't finish all the way up, but I do want to pull this up and just see, because I'm imagining at 2K, he's the guy. Oh, that's why I put 3 lineups. We want the full 150. He's a guy that is going to show up in a lot of lineups at 2K flat. I mean, he stands out as a value. He's projected with a pretty nice number. This is running here, so I'll get back to it. But that's the hard part about the slate, trying to figure out the Steelers wide receivers. For me personally, I'm not forcing Pickens into my lineups. Like, whatever I get of Pickens, I'm rolling with. Like, it's going to be under what number we show him. We're showing 48. It's probably going to be under that number, and I'm honestly fine with it. Mike Williams at 32. We saw it in the last slate, like with Turpin, one play. These wide receivers can just be the guy you need. Mike Williams doesn't have that explosiveness, I don't think, anymore, but Russell Wilson is willing to take shots, and I don't mind him at 32. Not like a core player or anything like that, but I'm fine getting to him. Definitely prefer him over Van Jones. And then Calvin Austin, I think you're going to need to be a little cautious with. This isn't going all the way to completion, so maybe maybe we're doing an update or something. But Calvin Austin, I have a feeling you're probably going to have to be a little cautious with, because I imagine he's going to show up in a lot of stuff. Talked about the Browns wide receivers, and I feel good about all of them. Like, you and I both like them both, or all 3 of them, in the flex or in the captain. That means we are going to like them in the flex as well. All right, I got this up, so let me go ahead and share. We can kind of talk through it this way. Screen share. There we go. All right, so in the captain, obviously a lot of Najee showing up in 46% of lineups. Pickens coming in too at 14, Jameis Winston 13, Russell Wilson, Freiermuth, and then Pittsburgh D, which we'll talk about because they will get some ownership. Anytime these defenses look good and they're expensive, people play them at a higher rate. And I don't know if you recall off the top of your head what they were owned last slate.
39, I want to say the Texans, or 32 or something. It was 39%, I want to say. In them.
So much more than anyone was projecting, basically, which is what we talked about on the show. No, it paid off, obviously. I mean, you needed them, but it is hard to get overweight on a defense that is that highly owned. So they will get some, but in terms of this, the main talking point is I wanted to see what's showing up in the flex and if Calvin Austin is. So, yeah, there you go. 44% Calvin Austin. So if you just blindly run an optimizer, you're going to get a lot of Calvin Austin. Oh, Freiermuth's only 3,600. Wow. All right, we'll talk about that when we get there. But he's another guy that you're probably got to be cautious with because he's going to show up a lot. So that's one thing to take note of with a guy like Calvin Austin. The floor is 0 for Calvin Austin. Like he has a floor of 0, which I believe he scored 0.9 last game, 20.4. So he has one game over 5 in his last 7 games. So the floor is very low.
That ain't great for sure. I will say this: we brought it with the Turpin.
Yep, yeah, that's what I was going to bring this up, and it's
No, sorry.
Go ahead.
Beat you to it.
No, yeah, go ahead. No, it's. I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
he returned punts for him. Yeah.
Steelers already a good play on defense. Calvin Austin's a cheap value. Is it fun? No, but if you pair it, you do have more outs to a random outcome.
Yep.
Double dipping you to send you up the leaderboard. Like if Calvin Austin returns a punt today, they're probably both optimal. Philly Phantom, I believe it was when I brought it up last show with the Turpin that I said he did return a touchdown, but I didn't think he was optimal. I guess they both actually were optimal that day, so the double dip did work. Again, it's a rare outcome, especially because the kick returns kind of were taken away, but it's possible.
Yep, absolutely. What do you mean the kick returns? You don't get points for it anymore?
No, you do, but with how they set up kick returns nowadays.
Okay.
I feel like the numbers are way down, and it's a lot harder to.
It have to be. But you're banking on the punt returns for sure.
I have no stats to back that up, though. Like they're flat-footed, so maybe not, but it just feels really hard to return.
Yeah,
it's hard to do both. I don't know. I don't know the numbers.
Yeah. So I don't hate that play though. I mean, definitely. Like if he returns a punt, like you're going to need him, and you're going to need Steelers defense. So I don't hate that pairing at all. Yeah, but if you come across a roster construction where it makes sense, absolutely put it in there. It's more so like if you're hand building, if you're doing 150, you don't want to tie those together in every single lineup that you're building. If you're hand building or doing 20 or something like that, I think you can definitely get there and make it happen.
What's it showing on these Browns receivers? Judy, Tillman, Moore. I see underweight on top right for both of them.
Yeah, it's going to be the case because they don't have a high projection. Like none of them have a very high projection, which I'm hoping all this remains true because I want to be overweight on that sort of thing. So in the flex, we're showing Tillman at 28. That's right around where we have him projected. Judy, 16. So underweight on Judy. Elijah Moore, way underweight on Elijah Moore. And then,
I think ownership will go that way. So talk about that a little bit. If you had to rank them again, you're going to play them all. We're not here to be like, Tillman's going to go off today and Elijah Moore is going to do nothing. Like we're going to be playing all of them. And I think that's the right way. But if you had to rank them, because I do think ownership comes Tillman, Judy, Moore, and also looking at pricing, obviously Judy, the big game last week, they both had it though. Judy, 8K, Tillman, 7K, Moore, 6.4. Tillman, I do think stands out in terms of pricing and ownership. Any thoughts on all that?
Yeah. So Tillman and Judy seem very similar to me in terms of like probably ownership and like what I'll end up on with both of them. I think Elijah Moore is clearly the number 3, but he's also going to clearly be the number 3 in ownership too. So it'd be easier to get overweight on him. You're really banking on volume with Elijah Moore. It's a lot of volume, which could be there. But for me, it's like I feel really good. I like both Tillman and Judy equally, I'd say. I mean, if I had to pick one, Maybe go Tillman. It was Judy last week. Maybe they flip back to Tillman this week, but I like both. And then Moore would definitely be the third for me. It's a big volume play. He needs like 10, 11 targets probably to make it happen, which he could clearly in this game if they're trailing. But yeah, he's clearly the number 3.
Anything else you want to talk about on Shiptimizer?
Let's see if anything else. So, I mean, what I would personally do and then just like kind of rerun it is, let's say 33 or something for Freiermuth. You could obviously do more. Calvin Austin, we've got 40. Let's just put in 30. See if it reruns here quickly for us. I just want to see what it does for our captain ownership, which by capping some of these cheaper plays, cheaper captains are going to get bumped up in terms of ownership. The more expensive ones, what I'm guessing will happen, which is very likely, is Pickens will be the one that comes down quite a bit. Najee will probably come down a little bit, but Pickens at 11, whatever it is, and bigger price tag. So it's not running. Hang on. See if we can get it. If not, I'll shut some stuff down, then rerun it and see. But I'm guessing those expensive ones, yeah, guys like Pickens will come down, Najee will come down a little bit, and you'll probably see maybe those Browns guys get bumped up a little bit in the captain, but nothing substantial. Yeah, it's not going to run. So we can flip back to the stone and continue.
Yeah, looking at the stone, I did want to point out just Elijah Moore. When you look at the ownership, who said Tillman, Judy relatively similar owned, I think that is the case. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if this got bumped up a little bit, but I do think it is relatively right. Elijah Moore is clearly less owned than all of them. Again, he runs like Tillman and Judy. It's almost 100% of routes. Elijah Moore like 75%ish. But looking at props, it's all close. Tillman plus 300 to score. I'll say Njoku because we'll get there in a sec. He's a pass catcher. Plus 300. Judy plus 320. Moore plus 390. So all pretty close. Receiving yards, you do notice the difference, though. 46.5 Judy, 43.5 Tillman, 33.5 Elijah Moore. But what stands out to me for sure, 2 guys that I know will be on the field, that have upside, that are coming in relatively low owned and don't break the bank. Jalen Warren at 6,200, Elijah Moore at 6,400, both about 20% owned. I know I'll be playing a good amount of them because I don't like a lot of value. Like, I'm going to play a little Mike Williams and Van Jefferson, but I don't want too much of them. Like, these dudes are cardio machines. They rotate. They want to run on a team that wants to run the football in a nasty game environment. Like, I don't want to go down in the ship with Mike Williams and Van Jefferson. So, yeah, it's Calvin Austin. I'll be underweight Pickens. I'm hoping these Browns guys come through. So, if you don't have anything more to add at receiver hoop, let's bring it to the tight end position.
Yeah, tight end position. We talked about Njoku a lot. I like, the one thing that's nice about these Cleveland guys, the prices. It's not like freebie prices where they're like $5K or something, the wide receivers, or $6K. Like, they have legitimate price tagging. The same for Njoku at 7,600. Very interested in him. We talked about him in the captain. I'll play him up there. I'll play him in the flex. I think a very strong play. And the nice thing is if you just run the optimizer, you're not getting much of it. And that's going to be the same for most people. So, definitely want to prioritize guys like Njoku. Pat Freiermuth, 3,600, very cheap price tag. Again, if he happens to find the box, he's probably optimal tonight at 36. And what we're thinking is a lower scoring slate. So good with him in the flex. And then the other guy that I kind of like is this Washington guy. He's an absolute beast, man. He gets the ball and he looks like a offensive lineman. Very hard to bring down. 2,400. Very interested in him. Akins, he's one of those plays that I really just don't want to play. And I have a feeling if I run my teams, he's going to show up in them. So if I do play him, it's going to be capped, but he is projected for a number. I mean, he's projected for, what do we have, 3? And at 1,600, he's going to show up on some teams. I'll definitely be capping that if I play any. Like, these are the sort of fringe plays that we talked about early. You can obviously talk about them too, but these are the sort of fringe plays where I don't want a ton of these guys tonight because I think, enough scoring fantasy wise is spread out where like 5, 6 probably isn't enough. It's weird. It's a weird slate, low scoring slate for sure. But I think there's enough guys that get 9, 10, 11, 12 fantasy points where they're going to be the ones that we're going to need on the optimal, opposed to like these punts that get like 5 or 6 at the most.
I'm with you. That's why I like these mid-tier Browns receivers, Njoku captain stuff. Even Chubb and Harris don't break the banks, and the Warrens of the world. Like, I agree with you, and that's why I don't love Pickens as much. Russ, the second highest, I don't love him as much because I don't want to go down to all these guys. But would I be surprised? Like, the winner might come down to picking Cordero Patterson, Van Jefferson, Mike Williams, Jordan Akins, and Darnell Washington, right? Like, one of them might be, because all of them will be on the field to an extent, and random stuff happens, especially on Showdown. But like the confidence, if like, all right, let's say we had to pick one of those 6 guys, Hoop. Washington's your guy? Especially now that Parham
I feel like this guy, the Parham thing got me kind of excited and distracted. I did listen to your list, and it's gonna be Washington for me. I've seen this guy get the ball, and he is hard to bring down. If he gets it anywhere close to the red zone, I mean, he could easily just take it in. So out of all those guys, Washington is gonna be my favorite.
I agree. I think it has to be Washington out of all those guys. His 58% of snaps last week, 64% the week before. Actually, so he had the same amount of snaps as Freiermuth last week, outsnapped Freiermuth the week prior. Very interesting right there. Obviously, Freiermuth, a better pass catcher, but Washington's on the field a lot. Looking at Akins last week, 22%. Week 9, 32%. He's going to be on the field. To be honest, I might even like Akins more than Mike Williams and Van Jefferson. Like, I just can't. Van Jefferson ran a lot of routes, like a good amount, but he just absolutely never does anything. And then Mike Williams, I think I even like more than Van Jefferson, because if he does get a play, it feels like it's a better chance for like a 25-yard touchdown. But I think Akins, I'd rather than a nasty game, dump offs. Like, he's solid. I think he'd maybe be it.
And it plays into that game script of Cleveland passing the football. You maybe lean towards the Cleveland guys a little bit more.
It's nasty though.
Like, I don't hate that. Yeah. But honestly though, it's like if we think the Steelers playing with the lead and it's Najee Harris, like if you're choosing between a Pittsburgh or a Cleveland guy, you probably want to go Cleveland in those game scripts for sure.
Yep, that's where I'm at as well. And again, if you're building for a different game script, like you think Browns get up and you're playing Chubb and then you're playing Warren for a comeback and Pickens, like then I would rather go Darnell Washington or Van Jefferson or that if you think Steelers are trailing. So definitely have your team build a story. Let's get to kickers and defenses. Any defense kickers? Yep, we always go that way. What's going on? Easy bets. We usually know what Hoop's going to do. I will say, interesting stuff with the weather. So kickers, I see an orange tag, some snow, some rain, gusts. Kickers, I'm interested on your take. Defenses, though, there's no doubt, like Steelers defense is a good play today. Looking at ownership, hold on, where do we got it? 33%.
It's going to be higher than whatever that number is.
Yep. So start right there. What are you going to do with that? And a third of the ownership is the Browns. So a very similar slate we just had with the Texans Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, it paid off, obviously, for the people that ate the defense chalk. I mean, 40%, like we talked about, Texans against the Cowboys. They got the late touchdown and you needed them. Paid off last time. Could it pay off today? Yeah, sure. I mean, it would be similar. Steelers, 5,400, probably end up around 40%, I'd guess. I mean, that's my projected ownership. I think it's probably right around 40. There's not a ton of mid-tier plays that stand out. People are going to like the Steelers today, and maybe it does pay off, but I personally won't be able to get to that 40% number. I was curious to get your take. I mean, I'm going to play them, but it's going to be underweight. And if they score a touchdown or, put up like 18 points, hopefully they're on the right teams or I'm not going to win. So I'm not going to get to the 40, which I think is the number. Good with the Browns, though. I mean, Browns are, like you said, it's substantially lower owned. We're showing 12. I bet it is a little higher than this, too, just because people are going to start buying into this ugly game narrative. So I guess probably more, 15, 16%. But, it's easier to get overweight on them than it is on the Steelers defense in my eyes. So good with either defense. I'll have both, be underweight on the Steelers. And then the Browns, we'll see when I go to build. Kickers, a lot of people are probably not going to shy away from them, but when they see that there's rain and snow and a little bit of wind, they might come in a little lower. Boswell he kicks in Pittsburgh all the time, and it's always nasty weather. And this guy always does well and puts up fantasy points. And I always talk about on these Steelers slates, showdown slates, it seems like he's always in the optimal. And here are some of his games this year. He had 26, 9, 8, 8, decent, not great, 6, 17, 14, 14, 4, 24. So he has 5 games of at least 14 fantasy points. If he scores 14 tonight, probably on the winner. Yes, there's some obstacles. The weather's not great. It's not ideal, but he typically is kicking in shit weather and gets the job done. So I'm not going to really be docking him all that much tonight. He'll be a big part of what I do. I hope people kind of get off the kickers a little bit. Less interest in Hopkins for sure. Like, I mean, to me, it's not even close. It's like night and day. Like, I want Boswell by a very wide margin. The ownership we're showing very similar, within 5. And I hope that's true because I'm going to be way overweight on Boswell. And then Hopkins, I'll kind of just take whatever. If I'm around the field or a little lower, that's fine. But definitely Boswell over Hopkins. Defense, I like both. I'm not going to be able to get to the 40%, which I think it is on the Cleveland side or on the Pittsburgh side for defense. But on Cleveland, I'm probably likely somewhere around the field, I guess, when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm forced to play kickers because I just don't like the value on this slate, really. But I do say, like, I prefer Elijah Moore. I prefer Warren. I know they are more expensive, but I do prefer the kickers over the dust balls like Mike Williams, Van Jefferson of sorts. I'm going to play – I have the same take. I'm going to play Browns D and probably be overweight. I'll probably be underweight Steelers like I was Texans because they even get more steam. But if I had 30% Steelers D, I'm fine with it. I think they come in 39, something like that. Like, it's a 37.5 total. Jameis makes a lot of mistakes. Like, Jameis can exceed their team total. They're applied for 16 points. Jameis can score 21 points and still have 3 turnovers, take a couple sacks, and then still get there. Break down this.
That's the question. Yeah, that's basically what you just said. Like, can you play Steelers D 4-2 Browns lineup? Yeah, like if you're playing a Jameis stack type lineup, Steelers D is totally fine. This is like the example where it's almost like not preferred to make this play, but like, man, it makes a ton of sense. The guy, like you just said, he can turn it over 3 times, defensive touchdown, and his ass is right back on the field and throwing it again, which is somewhat ideal situation. So I love those sort of lineups.
It is. I cheer for my quarterback all the time. Like, I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was a Tennessee game. Regardless what it was, there was like 3 minutes left. It was 3rd down. And it was he got strip sacked and they returned it. And I was like, that's the best case. You're -1 or -2 on FanDuel, which hurts a little more, means nothing when it keeps the game closer. You get the ball right back to go drive down the field and you can get 9 points, 10 points. Like, that's why Jameis is so good for sure. Any pick 6 he throws or fumble, whatever, and they're in the red zone, like, he's going to get the ball right back and he's going to do it all over again. So absolutely right there. Yeah, that's DraftKings. Awesome stuff. I really have nothing more to add. I think you and I pretty similar in a lot of stuff we talked about outside of the Nick Chubb stuff. And if you're right on that, you always talk about it. That 20% goes a long, long way. And he's obviously a pivot. But if you build Chubb teams, just paint the story, I think, is the grand scheme overview in this game. Is have your lineup tell a story.
I mean, if you go, flip it. If you go Chubb, I almost like Chubb better just in the captain. Like, the Browns win this game, which is, it's only a 3.5 point spread. Browns can very much so win this game. So Browns are playing with the lead. Chubb scores 2 touchdowns, and then you go Russell Wilson and some pass catchers. That's going to be totally against what everyone's doing. I mean, it's a total flipperoo. What does Tambo call it? A flipperoo, dipperoo, or whatever. I mean, he's got the word for it.
Switcheroo, I don't know.
Something like that. Switcheroo, flipperoo, whatever he calls it. But that's a perfect example of that. Unowned Nick Chubb in the captain. Steelers pass catchers with Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
it's going to be like very, very low owned.
That's why I try and preach in MMA. I always build my slate plan. They used to have a great $3.20 entry max, a $1.20 entry max. If you have a bankroll of $20, I think you are better suited either playing the quarter contest, the dime contest, using Shiptimizer, whatever optimizer you're using, building like 150 lineups. You can build 150 lineups and spend less than $10 on DraftKings. They have dime contests, maybe nickel. If you want to do $1.20 entry max, I think you're better building 20 teams than 120 single entry. Now, that's just me personally. That's how I like diversifying my portfolio, staying in longer. If you do that with 20 teams, you could have 2 lineups that paint that picture with Chubb. You are overweight right away just with those 2 teams. All the other ones can build Steelers. That's why you see, like, sometimes in Hoops MMA teams, he has one bubble all the way to the right. All the other ones sprinkled around like here or there. You only need one because it's so top heavy nowadays. MMA and NFL Showdown is similar dupe sport, so to say, and it only takes one. And the thing about all that is the second nuts sometimes pays nothing because it's duped up top. You're only playing for that. So that's just me. Find out what works for you. Tournaments, I've developed more into MME, more lineups. Doesn't mean I'm playing 150, though. I almost never play 150. 30 to 50, 20 to whatever, you can still win that way. So that's just some side tangent that got to my head. Talk some FanDuel hoop. These MVP numbers are wrong. I just put it in our chat, so this will be updated. But how ownership's going to go, Russell Wilson, Najee Harris, Jameis Winston. Outside of that, I think everything is different.
Yeah, it's not too much to really add. Like Najee Harris, I think, ends up getting even more ownership. I mean, he's only 12,000, and not that it matters in the MVP because they don't have the multiplier up there. But at 12,000, he's going to be very highly owned in the flex, very highly owned in the MVP. Quarterbacks always get a little bit more. Pickens at 13.5, I think, is at a pretty big disadvantage in this game over on FanDuel without the full PPR. Chubb, I like a little bit more over there at 11.5. The one price tag that looks kind of overpriced, I'd say, is Njoku at 12.5. Like, he's more expensive than Najee Harris over there. That will bring his ownership down. But like in Winston MVP teams, I think he's a perfect guy to put in there because ownership is going to be in check because of the elevated price tag. Steelers D 9.5, so they're not getting like a massive bump. We talked about Boswell. Boswell's 10,000. That's interesting. So they got Boswell above Steelers D.
It's a pivot.
Yeah, for sure. I like Boswell over there, definitely. And then all the cheap dudes are down there. Freiermuth is only 8K. Washington 7K. Yeah, there's really not much of a difference today, I'd say, between the two.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like Nick Chubb will also be very low owned on FanDuel.
Yeah,
David
like him
Njoku,
better there. Yeah, for sure.
David Njoku, like, how is he priced 1.5K more than Judy, 2K more than Tillman, 3.5K more than Cleveland? So that's what stands out if you want pivots. It's Cleveland guys. I think on both sites, Steelers are getting some love. 4-2 Steelers, 3-3 obviously popular, but yeah, awesome stuff, Hoop. Always love talking football. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Again, we ask is like button, subscribe button. If you do want to join us at the Nation, go to SHIPITNation.com. Again, you can see all of our shows scheduled today. MMA, I'll be talking later. Shiptimizer for all the sports. Go NFL. Go to Showdown. You can see as Hoop broke it down a little bit. Join the Nation. Click it right here. Again, weekly, monthly, 6-month, annual packages. Everything includes the Discord. Best community out there, except the weekly package. If you want to add Shiptimizer, $10 more a week, $30 more per month. You can see the deals get better as you go down. Just want football. This also includes college football. Best college football team out there. I know I keep saying it, but man, those guys continue to crush, and that sport is an absolute grind on every single day. No better deal out there. Again, we did readjust the prices. Not even halfway through the year, though, I believe, because of all the playoffs, the showdown stuff. Football, like next Thursday, big boy contest for Thanksgiving. Super pumped, one of my favorite days of the year. If you just want football, no better time. Check it out weekly, monthly, and the annual package can also add Shiptimizer. Ooh, final thoughts, and then I want you to send us out of here and give everyone a nice ship it, and I will click the button.
Let's go. So, I mean, not the sexiest game, but a lot of plays, like we talked about. There's a lot of appealing plays, a lot of different ways to go. As the day goes on, like I said, I think we start to see the Najee Harris captain stuff kind of get steamed up a little bit. Those Browns pass catchers go perfect with those Najee teams, and they're not going to be as highly owned as anyone thinks. So that's a route to go. All our content will start to go up. Mine will be done here within the hour. My player pool, core plays. You'll have the cash core. Tambo will have his slate plan up. So get on over to SHIPITNation.com. Check us out. In honor of our guy Tambo, who's not here, Let's ship it.